Today we're going to learn a new word, porcupine. It has nothing to do with you, Arnold. It isn't that kind of pork.
When the 60s gave us a sitcom about a Manhattan lawyer who gave up his comfortable life, bought a rundown farm, and pulled his glamorous penthouse-loving wife along with him, it made no sense at all, and that's exactly why we loved it. Green Acres aired from 1965 to 1971 and gave us 170 episodes of total Hooterville madness. It starred Eddie Albert as the always hopeful Oliver Douglas and Eva Gabor as his wife Lisa, the only woman who could make farm work look like a fashion photo shoot. Today we're counting down 15 strange and wild facts about Green Acres, and trust us, if you think this show was weird on the surface, just wait until you hear how it first began. Now, before we jump in, make sure to like and subscribe because it really helps YouTube show this video to more retro TV fans just like you. Now, let's start with number 1. The theme song was basically a small sitcom episode. You know how most classic TV theme songs were sung by unknown studio singers who took their pay and went home? Not Green Acres. This show did something that almost no sitcom had bothered to do at that time. It let its own stars sing the theme song themselves.
Green Acres is the place to be.
The genius behind this catchy song was Vic Mizzy, the same guy who also created the finger-snapping Addams Family theme.
They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky.
If you heard a catchy sitcom song in the 60s, there's a good chance Vic was getting paid for it.
Farm living is the life for me.
But here's what made it really special. The Green Acres theme wasn't just a catchy song. It was like a full argument between a husband and wife set to music. Eddie Albert sang about how much he loved farm life, while Eva Gabor purred about Times Square like she was picking out a fancy dress. And that accent? Pure Eva. A strong Hungarian lilt was something most American viewers had never heard on a sitcom before.
I just adore a penthouse view. Darling, I love you, but give me Park Avenue.
Green Acres showed you the whole conflict of the show right away. Oliver wanted fresh air and tractors. Lisa wanted penthouse living and Broadway. Every single week, even before the episode started, you saw them argue about the life they were living. It was like listening in on a couple's therapy session, but much catchier. And here's the amazing part. They reportedly got it perfect in one take. That's right. The theme that became one of the most famous in TV history was basically a musical mic drop.
The chores,
The stores!
fresh air.
Later shows like The Monkees and even All in the Family followed the trend of having stars sing their own theme songs, but Green Acres did it first and turned it into a Broadway-level battle of wills.
Green Acres, we are there.
Number 2. No, Arnold Ziffel was not eaten at the rat party. For decades, one of the weirdest rumors about Green Acres was what happened to Arnold Ziffel, the TV-watching, homework-doing superstar pig of Hooterville.
It's 5 a.m. and time for our Porky Pig Festival.
According to the story, the cast threw a luau-themed rap party in 1971, and Arnold ended up as the main course. It's a shocking story, but completely false. It started as a joke. Actor Tom Lester, who played Eb Dawson, got tired of fans always asking what happened to Arnold after the show ended. So one day, he jokingly told the reporter that the cast had roasted him at the rap party. Lester thought it was funny, but fans didn't. The rumor spread like wildfire and somehow became one of Hollywood's darkest sitcom myths. The truth was very different. Several pigs played Arnold over the years, and they were treated with real care by their trainers. The most famous Arnold belonged to legendary animal trainer Frank Inn, who absolutely loved the pig and was devastated when Lester's jokes started spreading. He loved that animal so much that when he died years later, Arnold's ashes were buried with him. That's the kind of bond we're talking about here, people. And Arnold wasn't just loved, he was honored. He won 3 Patsy Awards, the animal version of an Oscar, making him one of television's greatest four-legged stars. So no, Arnold Ziffel did not end up at a luau. He became a star, a legend, and part of the legacy of the trainer who loved him. The rumor survives because it's crazy, but the truth is far sweeter, just like Arnold himself.
Number 3. Mr. Haney was inspired by Elvis's real-life manager. Mr. Haney wasn't just a funny con man made up for Hooterville. He was based on a real hustler. Actor Pat Buttram modeled the character after Colonel Tom Parker, the famous and very shady manager of Elvis Presley. Buttram had met Parker years earlier in the 1950s when Parker worked as a carnival barker and promoter, and Buttram was making his name in radio. Parker left a big impression. He was slick, charming, and always looking for a way to make a deal. Years later, when Buttram got the role of Mr. Haney, he knew exactly who to copy. Just like Haney, Parker wasn't really a colonel. He'd been given an honorary Kentucky colonel title and acted like he had commanded an actual army. Before managing the king of rock and roll, Parker worked the carnival circuit, selling everything from dancing turkeys to fake souvenirs. You know, normal practice for becoming one of the most powerful men in the music business. And the shady business moves? Parker practically wrote the book himself. He took huge cuts of Elvis's earnings, made deals that mostly helped himself, and worked with the kind of shameless selling that would have made even Mr. Haney blush. Buttram copied Parker's gestures, his non-stop salesman style, and even a bit of his odd, hard-to-place accent. The result? Mr. Haney sounded like someone who could sell Oliver Douglas a broken tractor, a haunted washing machine, and a lifetime warranty that covered nothing, all in the same breath.
Mr. Douglas, I never saw him before. He was a perfect stranger.
How long are we going to be here, Cousin Eustace?
The connection became well known in entertainment circles, and Buttram himself confirmed it. So the next time Mr. Haney shows up in a scene with a contract, a grin, and a price that should be illegal, just remember, he's not exaggerating. He's copying Elvis Presley's real manager, and somehow even making him look honest by comparison.
Number 4. Oliver and Lisa were almost played by completely different actors. It's hard to imagine anyone but Eddie Albert and Eva Gabor running that little farm outside Hooterville, but the truth is, neither of them was the network's first choice. Green Acres almost had a totally different couple at its center. When producers first looked for their Oliver Wendell Douglas, they didn't call Eddie Albert, they called Don Amici. At the time, Amici was the bigger name, a radio legend, a respected film actor, and the kind of polished star networks loved to boast about. But Amici said no, leaving the door open for Albert. And thank goodness he did. Albert's mix of sincerity, stubbornness, and barely hidden frustration, plus his real-life farming knowledge, became the heartbeat of the entire show. Casting Lisa Douglas was just as tricky. Several actresses tested for the role, including Marsha Hunt and Janet Blair, both strong contenders, but producer Paul Henning wanted Eva Gabor from the start. CBS, however, did not. Executives worried her thick Hungarian accent would confuse American audiences or make jokes harder to land. Henning refused to budge. He believed Eva's accent, elegance, and comedic timing were exactly what the role needed. The whole point was that she didn't fit in. Eventually, the network gave in, and Eva stepped into Lisa's towering heels. From the moment she appeared on screen, glamorous, confused, and completely devoted to Oliver, it was clear Henning was right. Her delivery, charm, and even her mangled idioms became essential parts of the show's identity. If Don Amici had said yes, or if CBS had worried too much about Eva's voice, Green Acres would have been a completely different show.
Well, then why didn't he ever cash a check for you?
Because he never had any money.
How can you say that?
Instead, we got a mismatched pair who turned out to be perfect, the exact mix of sincerity and silliness that made Green Acres one of TV's strangest, smartest, and most loved sitcoms. Number 5. Green Acres was a victim of the rural purge, not bad ratings. Green Acres didn't end in 1971 because viewers stopped watching. The show was still getting good numbers. It ranked 34th out of 96 shows in its final season and was still winning its time slot by every normal measure. It should have continued, but its ending had nothing to do with popularity and everything to do with a wave that hit TV in the early 70s, the infamous rural purge. CBS executives decided they needed to go after a younger, more urban audience, the kind advertisers suddenly wanted. To do that, the network started removing anything that looked even a little country. It didn't matter if the shows were loved, successful, or long-running. If it had farms, folksy characters, or a zip code outside a major city, it was suddenly on the chopping block. Fred Silverman, the head of programming, swung the axe hard. In one season, CBS canceled Green Acres, The Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction, Lassie, and more. Large parts of the schedule disappeared almost overnight because they didn't fit the new image CBS wanted. The network filled the empty spots with series like All in the Family, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and later MASH, groundbreaking hits that started a new era of TV, but left many fans wondering why their favorites were gone without warning. Eddie Albert and Eva Gabor, though, didn't let the cancellation slow them down. Eddie earned his second Oscar nomination for The Heartbreak Kid in 1972, played the cruel Warren in The Longest Yard, and co-starred in the crime drama Switch from 1975 to 1978. He stayed busy with guest spots on shows from Columbo to Murder, She Wrote, and even reunited with Eva for the 1990 TV movie Return to Green Acres. Off-screen, Albert stayed true to his environmental passions, continuing activism well into his later years. He passed away in 2005 at age 99, leaving behind a legacy far beyond Hooterville. Eva Gabor found a second calling in voice acting, becoming the elegant Miss Bianca in Disney's The Rescuers films. She also launched a successful fashion and beauty line, appeared on game shows like Match Game and Hollywood Squares, and reunited with Eddie on Broadway in You Can't Take It With You in 1983. Eva passed away in 1995 at age 76 from respiratory failure after a fall while vacationing in Mexico. She's buried at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery, just a few yards away from Eddie Albert, who joined her there a decade later. Even in death, the heart of Green Acres stayed close.
Number 6. Eva Gabor almost turned down Lisa Douglas. Eva Gabor made Lisa Douglas look like the kind of woman who could churn butter in a ball gown, but she almost didn't take the role at all. Before Green Acres, Eva wasn't just one of the Gabor sisters. She was already a polished Hollywood actress with real credits to her name. Films like The Last Time I Saw Paris and Gigi, Broadway performances, even her own talk show in the 50s. She had carefully built a reputation for elegance and sophistication, the kind that came with champagne brunches in Beverly Hills, not pig farming in Hooterville. So when a sitcom came calling, Eva hesitated. She worried Lisa Douglas might be too silly, too broad, and too one-note. A high-maintenance socialite stuck on a farm felt like a stereotype waiting to happen. Her husband at the time convinced her to do it. He told her the role had real potential and that she should lean into the comedy while keeping her natural Hungarian accent. That accent, of course, became one of the most famous sounds on television. Once she signed on, Eva turned the character into gold. She gave Lisa a sweetness beneath the glamour, played the absurdity with complete sincerity, and became the perfect comedic partner to Eddie Albert's idealistic Oliver.
Stupid Eb got me all wet. Here, do something with that, will you?
Did you talk to Mrs. Collins?
Miss Collins.
Oh, you already found that out.
What could have been a flat, boring character became one of the most charming sitcom wives ever on television. And the best part? The role made Eva even more famous than her sister Zaja. It also secured her place in TV history as the woman who made both couture and corn look equally fabulous.
Number 7. Eddie Albert was a real farmer. On Green Acres, Oliver Wendell Douglas talked a big game about farming, but couldn't grow a tomato without Mr. Haney trying to sell him the dirt it was planted in. The irony is that Eddie Albert, the actor playing this hopelessly romantic farmer, started out just as clueless about real farming as his character. Albert was raised in the city of Minneapolis with a zero farming experience. When he got the role, he couldn't tell a tractor from a thresher. In fact, the only person on set who really knew how to work a farm was Tom Lester, who played the farmhand Eb Dawson. Lester could milk a cow, plow a field, and fix equipment. These were all skills Eddie Albert had to learn convincingly for the camera. But something changed while playing Oliver Douglas. Albert had always liked nature, but Green Acres seemed to awaken something deeper. During the show's run, he became publicly vocal about environmental issues, promoting organic gardening, speaking out against pollution, and warning people about pesticides like DDT. By the time the show ended in 1971, Albert had helped organize the very first Earth Day in 1970, starting what became a lifelong mission. At his Pacific Palisades home, he grew organic vegetables in a greenhouse and even planted a cornfield in his front yard. He wasn't just acting like a farmer anymore, he was living it, minus the disasters in Mr. Haney. And he didn't stop when the cameras turned off. After Green Acres ended, Albert spent decades as one of Hollywood's most dedicated environmentalists.
He co-founded the Eddie Albert World Trees Foundation, worked with the United Nations Environment Program, and hosted environmental specials that brought conservation into homes across America. So while Oliver Douglas never got a perfect harvest in Hooterville, Eddie Albert used the role to become a real-life advocate for the planet. The character struggled to grow corn. The actor helped grow an entire environmental movement, proving that sometimes the role you play can give you the power to change the world. Number 8. The animals in Hooterville were basically people, except to Oliver. One of the wildest things about Green Acres, and one reason the show still feels so wonderfully strange, is that the farm animals had more personality, intelligence, and social status than half the human characters. And everyone in town accepted this without question, except Oliver, who spent 6 seasons wondering why he was the only sane person on the farm. Arnold Ziffel was a crown jewel, of course. The TV-watching, school-going pig was treated as the literal son of Fred and Doris Ziffel. Arnold never spoke English, but every grunt and snort was somehow perfectly understood by the entire town. They talked about his report cards, his hobbies, even his acting career, while Oliver stood there insisting he was just a pig and getting absolutely nowhere.
Lately, he's been striking out with the girls. He says a sexy aftershave lotion might help.
Well, this is the one I use.
Arnold says no thank you. He's seen the kind of girls you get.
And Arnold wasn't the only one. Lisa had close, meaningful friendships with Eleanor the cow and Alice the chicken, both treated like full-fledged residents of Hooterville.
Oh, poor Eleanor, you're still playing. Oh, she looks so tired. Is there any way we could turn her off?
They go off the air at 12 o'clock.
Good, then you can have a good night's sleep.
Their moos and clucks were basically conversations, as long as you weren't Oliver Douglas. But the show did cross the line into real talking animals exactly once. In the episode The Birthday Gift, Lisa gets a horse named Mr. Fred, and this horse actually talks, with a voice provided by impressionist Rich Little doing his best James Stewart impression.
If you don't keep quiet, it's the glue factory.
If I had just saved my money instead of blowing it betting on auto races.
The show never explained it, never did it again, and never mentioned Mr. Fred after that. It was peak Green Acres. Bizarre, hilarious, and completely unconcerned with continuity. Now we'll take a quick break from the madness to ask, do you remember watching Green Acres in after-school reruns or on Nick at Night? Tell us in the comments which character you love the most. Alright, now let's get back to the countdown with number 9. No one knows exactly where Hooterville is, and that's kind of the joke. One of the longest running gags across the whole Hooterville universe is that nobody, not the characters, not the writers, not even the fans, can agree on where it actually is. The geography of Green Acres was purposely unclear, and the contradictions only made it funnier. Over the years, the show dropped clues that never matched up. In one episode, Mr. Haney casually says Hooterville is about 300 miles from Chicago, which would put it somewhere in the Midwest. And if you watch the Beverly Hillbillies, the Ozark references make it feel like Hooterville should be tucked somewhere in Missouri or Arkansas.
Oliver, why are we stopping here? Is there something wrong with the car?
No.
You're going to ask for directions?
No.
You mean that?
Welcome home, Green Acres.
But the show took the joke even further. In one episode, a government official could only get to Hooterville by parachute because the town wasn't on any map. The town's population and elevation changed depending on whatever joke the writers needed that week. Consistency was never the goal. Even the accents didn't help. You had Eva Gabor sounding like European royalty, Pat Buttram sounding like he rode in on a mule from Alabama, and half the townspeople talking like they came straight out of the cornfield. Trying to find Hooterville on a map was pure madness, and that was the point. The producers kept Hooterville deliberately unplaceable, a nowhere-everywhere town that didn't have to follow the rules of real geography or logic. That vagueness made the absurdity easier to accept and created a world where a pig could watch TV, a county agent could finish a sentence, and the laws of physics bent depending on who was talking. Hooterville wasn't meant to be found on a map. It was meant to feel like its own little universe, a place that lived just outside reality, exactly where Green Acres belonged.
Number 10. Two actresses played Doris Ziffel, and most viewers never noticed. Doris Ziffel, the sweet, slightly quirky farm wife who treated Arnold the pig like her only child, was such a staple in Hooterville that most viewers didn't realize two different actresses played her. The role started with Barbara Pepper, who had been in Hollywood since the 1930s as one of the original Goldwyn girls. She went from glamorous musical films to sitcom character work, and Green Acres gave her one of her most loved roles. Her Doris was warm, wonderfully odd, and completely convinced that Arnold was basically a short, hairy son who just happened to prefer slop. Audiences adored her.
Last time I had a crowd over to the house, I served fried chicken.
Oh, you could have fooled me.
I suppose you can do better.
Anytime. Everybody says I make the best fried chicken in the valley.
I never said it.
Ladies, wouldn't you like to settle this like gentlemen?
But behind the scenes, Pepper's health was getting worse because of a serious heart condition. She left the show after 1968 and passed away the next year. Rather than write Doris out completely, the producers quietly recast the role with Fran Ryan, who played Doris for the final seasons from 1969 to 1971. Ryan portrayed Doris with the same gentle, pig-obsessed devotion, and most viewers never noticed the change. When the cast reunited in 1990 for Return to Green Acres, Doris Ziffel was mentioned as having died, a respectful nod to Barbara Pepper, the original actress who had passed away 20 years earlier. Fran Ryan, who had played the role for the show's last 2 seasons, wasn't part of the reunion. Whether she wasn't asked or was unavailable isn't publicly known, but by 1990, Ryan was still actively working in television and would continue acting for years. So, while Doris Ziffel got a touching tribute in the reunion movie, it specifically honored Barbara Pepper's memory, leaving Fran Ryan as the actress who kept Doris alive on screen but never got to say goodbye to Hooterville one last time.
Number 11. Return to Green Acres brought the cast back one last time. In 1990, almost 20 years after the rural purge pushed Green Acres off the air, the surviving cast reunited for a made-for-TV movie called Return to Green Acres. For Gen Xers who grew up watching reruns after school, it was like opening a time capsule. The story picked up with Oliver and Lisa Douglas back in Manhattan, having sold the farm and returned to their old high society life.
And from now on, we are just going to look ahead and never look back.
Yeah, but this has been our home for so long. Giving it up is...
It's very difficult, I know. Oliver, we're going to take this to New York. To remember Green Acres, bye.
Oh, good.
But they're miserable. It turns out Hooterville had changed them more than they realized. Meanwhile, back in Hooterville, the town is in serious trouble. A greedy land developer is tricking residents into selling their properties for very cheap to build a huge industrial city. Desperate, the townspeople traveled to New York City to find Oliver and Lisa, hoping Oliver's legal skills can save their homes. The Douglases return to Hooterville, and Oliver tries to fight the developer in court, but fails. In true Hooterville fashion, the townspeople take matters into their own hands, tricking the developer into believing the land sits on an earthquake fault. The plan works. The developer abandons the project, and Hooterville is saved. The movie flipped the original idea on its head. Instead of Oliver dragging Lisa to the farm against her will, they both realize Hooterville is their true home and choose to stay. The movie had a bittersweet charm. Many of the original performers were gone by 1990, but the ones who remained slipped back into their roles easily. It wasn't just a reunion, it was a final bow for one of television's most eccentric towns, reminding fans how much heart and delightful nonsense Green Acres brought into the world. Number 12. Hooterville was one of TV's first shared worlds. Hooterville wasn't just a small town, it was early television's most wonderfully odd shared universe. 3 different sitcoms existed in the same slightly tilted reality, letting characters wander from one show to another as if county lines were just a suggestion. It all started with the Beverly Hillbillies in 1962. The Clampetts spent most of their time in Beverly Hills, but their roots were back in the rural world that producer Paul Henning loved, close enough that crossover episodes felt natural.
Then came Petticoat Junction in 1963, centered around the Shady Rest Hotel, officially putting Hooterville on the map. That show introduced the rhythm, characters, and gently absurd tone that would define the region. When Green Acres arrived in 1965 as a direct spin-off of Petticoat Junction, it planted the Douglas farm right down the road and fully cemented all three shows into one interconnected world. Suddenly, characters could pop in and out of each other's storylines like they were just borrowing a cup of sugar, or in Oliver's case, probably something expensive and unnecessary from Mr. Haney. The glue holding this world together was Frank Cady as Sam Drucker, the man who ran the general store, the post office, and served as the newspaper editor. Drucker appeared regularly on both Petticoat Junction and Green Acres, giving viewers a familiar face no matter which show they watched. The man was basically working two full-time TV jobs in the same fictional zip code, and even popped up in Beverly Hills when Sam won a trip to Hollywood and visited the Clampetts. Other characters drifted between shows too. Uncle Joe Carson from the Shady Rest Hotel would wander into Green Acres episodes just because he felt like it. The Bradley sisters, Bobby Joe, Billy Joe, and Betty Joe, often showed up as dates for Eb Dawson. Even Arnold the Pig's parents, Fred and Doris Ziffel, were introduced on Petticoat Junction before becoming Green Acres regulars. The shows became so interconnected that in 1968 they produced special Thanksgiving and Christmas episodes that brought the entire Clampett family to Hooterville to visit their distant cousins, the Bradleys. For fans who watched all three shows, Hooterville felt like a single, fully formed little world, cozy, chaotic, and deeply connected. Not a cinematic universe, not some grand corporate plan, just a corner of television where the comedy stayed the same no matter which porch you were on.
Number 13. Green Acres started as a 1950s radio show. Green Acres may feel like one of the most original sitcoms of the 1960s, but the idea actually began a decade earlier on the radio. Before Oliver and Lisa Douglas ever set foot in Hooterville, CBS aired a 1950s summer series called Granby's Green Acres, and the premise was almost the same.
Granby's Green Acres.
The radio version followed John Granby, a big city banker who dreamed of escaping to a simple life. He drags his wife Martha out to a rundown farm, and surprise, neither of them knows anything about farming. Sound familiar? The setup was all there. The earnest husband convinced he could master agriculture, the reluctant wife wondering how she ended up there, and the constant clash between city expectations and rural reality. The show even had a farmhand named Eb and a storekeeper named Will Kimball, names that would be reused for the TV version years later. Granby's Green Acres only lasted 8 episodes as a summer replacement for Lux Radio Theater, but it featured 2 actors who would become sitcom legends. John Granby was played by Gail Gordon, who later became Mr. Mooney on The Lucy Show, and Martha was played by Bea Benaderet, who eventually starred as Kate Bradley on Petticoat Junction, the very show that would share Hooterville with Green Acres.
What was the name of this organization again?
The Hooterville Volunteer Fire Department, stupid.
Oh, yes.
So the woman who played the original city wife stuck on a farm ended up running the Shady Rest Hotel just down the road. Small world, but an even smaller county. Number 14. Green Acres loved breaking the fourth wall and being very meta. Green Acres wasn't just surreal, it was one of the first sitcoms to constantly wink at the audience. The show loved breaking the fourth wall, making fun of itself, and dropping inside jokes that rewarded viewers who followed the entire Hooterville universe. One of the best examples came straight from Eva Gabor herself.
Well, when you married me, you knew that I couldn't cook, I couldn't sew, and I couldn't keep house. All I could do was talk Hungarian and do imitations of Eva Gabor.
The line worked because it was true. Zaza really was Eva's glamorous sister in real life, and the writers let the show open that door wide. It was the kind of joke that made the audience feel like they were in on a secret. The show's meta streak didn't stop there, though. In one delightfully weird episode, the residents of Hooterville decide to put on a community theater production of the Beverly Hillbillies.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Hooterville Community Players are proud to present their version of that famous TV show, the Beverly Hillbillies.
The massively popular series that shared their universe. Lisa hilariously played Granny, while Oliver ended up playing Jethro, turning the whole episode into a parody of a show that technically existed right next door. Moments like these helped tie the Hooterville world together and set Green Acres apart from every other sitcom on TV at the time. It wasn't just country comedy, it was smart, silly, self-aware, and always ready to remind you that the characters knew they were part of something bigger and a whole lot stranger.
Number 15. Green Acres allowed zero improvising, except for one person. For a show that looked so loose, goofy, and off the wall, Green Acres ran on one surprisingly strict rule: absolutely no improvising. None, not a single word. Director Richard L. Baer and the writing team built the show around a very specific rhythm. It was fast-paced, absurd, and packed with precise wordplay and running gags that only worked if every line landed exactly where it was supposed to.
What do you want me to do with this?
Just send it back to the manufacturer. Let him worry about it.
One actor going off script could throw the whole sequence off balance. Eddie Albert said, "There was no time to improvise on Green Acres. It was so well written, it would have been impossible to improve upon it. We never changed a word."
What do you need it for?
To dry myself.
How did you get all wet?
I've been taking... Will you bring me a towel?
But there was one small exception. Eva Gabor's English, with her glamorous Hungarian accent and her wonderfully unpredictable expressions, occasionally produced little accidental gems.
I wondered how they were going to get that one in.
A twisted expression here, a charming mispronunciation there. The writers loved them. They didn't let her improvise full scenes, but they often took her accidental turns of phrase, wrote them into future scripts, and let her keep sprinkling that charm into Lisa Douglas. Outside of those moments, though, the cast stuck to the script with surgical precision. Green Acres might have looked chaotic, but behind the scenes, it was a finely tuned comedy machine, one where the jokes worked exactly because nobody strayed from the page. And there you have it, 15 weird and wild facts about Green Acres. Which facts surprised you, and which ones did we miss? Tell us in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip back to Hooterville, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with that friend who swears they understood every word Arnold said. And until next time,